That'd be pretty cool.
All right. Welcome back to the Alchemical Life podcast. It's me. It's just audio. You can't see me. You can only hear me. And you'll also be able to hear my very special friend, guest, Veronica.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. She's on the podcast today. I hope you guys can hear in the background. There's a little bit of rain ASMR pattering on the rooftop.
It provides ambiance.
I kind of wish that there was a video because we're just intently staring at each other in the eyes.
Looking each other in the eyes as I'm soaked through my sweater from getting my Uber Eats order.
Super romantic. Veronica, give a little quick summary on you, because today we're going to talk about training athletes, which is what you do.
Yeah.
And you're here in Tampa because you're about to train some athletes, which is how we met. Mm-hmm. But quick little background on what you do,
cool.
Where you live, who you are.
Should I do my villain origin story?
Yeah, villain origin story is the best.
Origin story. So I did my undergrad at the University of Carleton. I'm Canadian, from Ottawa, so I did my undergrad at the University of Carleton.
Yep.
When I wrapped up, I took a year off, traveled with my best friend, was working part-time as a research assistant at the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. Shout out CHEO. I'm pretty sure it's actually one of, if not the biggest children's hospital in North America.
No
if
shit.
I'm not mistaken. Yeah, like people get flown in there because of how good they are for different specialties and stuff. So I was part of the research team for the Healthy Active Living and Obesity Department, it's short for HALO. And every year they do this participation report card. And so essentially they collect a bunch of data and give every country around the world a grade based on their activity level. And for like the fourth or fifth year in a row, Canada got a D or a D minus. I can't remember exactly what it was back at the time. And I remember looking at my manager, the guy who was head of the project, and I said, well, okay, Canada got a D. What do we do about this? And he looked at me. He's like, oh, well, we'll start next year's report. I thought, okay. So it was just kind of that moment for me where I didn't feel very fulfilled with what I was doing. I know the benefit of research. I see where it's important, but for me, that just wasn't it at the time. That same week, I grew up playing a bunch of sports. So in my off time, I would just kill time at the gym. I was working out twice a day at the time because I was only working part-time at the hospital, so I had some time to kill.
Yup.
I went in for my second workout of the day, and one of the trainers came up to me and said, hey, have you ever thought about being a personal trainer? And it was always one of those jobs where I thought, oh, that'd be something that'd be so cool to do if I didn't need money. Yeah. And I never really thought of it as a career or as something that I could actually do.
Yeah.
And when it presented itself as an opportunity in front of me, I said, yeah, I'm going to do that. So started out in a commercial setting, simultaneously got my master's degree, same university, Carleton. So I got my master's in neuroscience. I defended in 2020. And at that time, I was about 2.5 years into being a full-time trainer. And I just realized while I was doing my master's that I loved one thing more than the other. I easily right away knew what I just loved it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be doing anything else. This is the coolest job in the world. I'm so proud and like pumped to do what I do every day.
Yeah, so she's super freaking smart and also a bro.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah,
That's how you do it.
also a bro. Okay, so a lot of what was the arc of training clientele? Because now you work with a lot of athletes. You work with team sports, so you work with middle school and high school.
Yeah.
You've worked with college.
Yeah.
And you also, I mean, we work together at the pro level, or I guess the road to pro.
Yeah.
For football.
Yeah.
Because we met at the preschool level 3 combine training.
Hell yeah.
This is how we become friends. Mm-hmm. But actually, I feel like we became friends more after, because during the week we were not grouped together.
Yeah, we just didn't spend a ton of time together, but we hit it off well.
We
during the
did,
week.
yeah.
We vibed.
But then but also I think we were just so tired
at the end of the day. Yeah.
We'd work out after, and we'd say like a couple of sentences to one another.
Yeah.
And then it was like, we'll catch up at
I'm going to bed. I'll see you at 6 a.m. Like, see you later.
Yeah.
Though I knew I liked you because you kept giving me 12 out of 10 food recommendations. Like every night you'd tell me to go to a new spot, and that's where I picked for my dinner spot, and it was always so good. And even when I went to Texas in November, you gave me a whole list of places to eat in Austin. Every single place, 12 out of 10.
It's how you know you can trust a person.
I knew.
If they give good food recs. We also went to Noble Rice last night. Oh, the best.
So good.
You guys,
So
if
good.
you are ever in Tampa and you have the honor of getting a reservation at Noble Rice, it is just an entire experience.
Didn't need to chew the food. It literally just slid down my throat. It was so
Yeah.
good. It was a spiritual experience. It was so good.
I could go so many roads with this. It was a spiritual experience.
It was so good.
Noble Rice is seriously amazing. It's like a sushi restaurant, very upscale.
Yeah.
Sister restaurant to Koya, which is a Michelin star restaurant, and it's just amazing. She's also got her rasp going on because she's on the comeback from the sick train.
Comeback. Was sick earlier this week. Lost my voice for the first time ever.
And now she just sounds sexy.
Horrible. I'm trying. Honestly, I feel like it sounds better than my normal voice. So
there's
that
point where it's when you're a little bit sick and you have where you're just like, it sounds like I smoke a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, but not cancer level yet. Yeah. But I do love a good cigarette.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. That's a sexy voice right there. I love a good occasional cigarette. Anyway, sorry. Back to what we were talking about sports-wise. So athletic populations, because you're probably like me in the sense of when you started, you're just like, I'll just train whoever will fucking train with me.
Yeah.
And then you get to build a niche from there. So how do we go from there to sports?
Yeah. Yeah. When I first started out the commercial setting, took on anyone that wanted to train. I was there at 5 a.m., there at 9 p.m., did not care.
Yep.
Like, I was there at all hours of the day just trying to get some clients. I actually built up a roster pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I realized not a lot of people are willing to do that. Not a lot of people are willing to be at the gym I had 5 a.m. clients. That was the only year I did 5 a.m. clients. I don't do that anymore because I am a miserable person when I'm too tired.
Yeah.
But I did 5 a.m. clients. I literally had a client that worked construction, so she'd come at like 8 or 9 p.m. and I'd be at the gym so late. And it helped me. It was a grueling 3 months, but I built up a full roster in 3 months of working in the commercial setting. So it started out with a lot of jump pop. I had fun with it. I had a couple athletes here and there, like teens that would come in with like whatever.
Underrated. I love a good gen pop.
I love my jump pop clients that I have now.
When you have the homie gen pops,
yeah,
they are so fucking awesome.
I love them.
They're just a joy to work with.
And you know what's the coolest thing? I feel like they deserve a better term than Gen Pop because these people are so much cooler than me. They're so much cooler than me. They're CEOs. They make billions of dollars. They've got families. They got their shit together.
I know.
And I'm like,
the only place they're normal in quotation is in the gym.
Is in the gym setting.
Exactly. That's it. Every other area of their life. Dude, I've had people come in. I'm like, you are working out in my garage right now.
Yeah.
And you are like a high level lobbyist. Yeah. You are a like lawyer. You're friends with Alex Hormozy. Like, I'm sorry, what? Like, what's going on? You know, like, why are you training with me? But they're Gen Pop.
In terms of programming, they're Gen Pop. But it's funny because they'll come in and they'll tell me about some of the shit that's going on in their workday. Am I allowed to swear on this? It's too late.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
They'll tell me about some of the stuff going on in their workday, and I'm like, man, so far all I've done is like drink coffee and like yell motivational things at people. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And you're actually doing the real work out there.
Yeah.
But no, I started with a lot of Gen Pop, and I still have a good chunk of Gen Pop right now. And then as I actually went into a manager role in the commercial setting first. So I did really well with my Gen Pop clientele, had a full roster, was doing my master's. Got promoted to assistant fitness manager at the club I was at, where I was primarily responsible for sales and getting other trainers' clients. And then after that, quickly transitioned into the full manager role at a totally different club. But that was in the middle of COVID. And that was a shit show to be a manager for the first time when all I did basically was lay off people and then hire them back when the gyms would open again. Because in Ontario, they closed the gyms down 5 different times. It was insane. 5 different times they shut us down.
Florida, it was like
the one time and then see you later.
If Florida was like 2 weeks of whatever, and then they were like, fuck this. Yeah.
It was insane. And so it was just me laying off the staff, hiring them back, trying to like please the customers, please the people. And I'm a big for the people gal.
Yeah.
And so I think I did well in that sense where I just want people to know that I was there to support them. But it was hard. I didn't know how to support them during that. Like, they have a job for 2 months and then they don't have a job for a month. It's really difficult. So there was a lot going on there. And I also got in this because I love training people. That's the whole reason instead of going that like education route and sticking with the research, I came here because I wanted to be the one training people. And when I became a manager, I was training less and less clients, and I didn't love that. So I decided to just go off on my own, take the plunge. Around that time, I was taking PSL1. I was feeling so good about where I was at with being a trainer and what I knew and how I was approaching training with clients. Went off on my own. Took me a couple months to get my footing because it was like cold turkey. Like, I just went from working full-time commercial
Get
gym
that microphone a little
on my
closer
own.
here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Went from full-time commercial gym to being totally on my own. And then worked out of a jiu-jitsu gym for a little bit. So I had a lot of MMA athletes, a lot of fighters. That was fun. I dabbled a little bit in jiu-jitsu. I'm trash, but like it was fun. It was fun to experience a whole new
I'm
sport
also trash.
as an adult. Oh, I'm like, I am the most mediocre athlete you'll ever meet in your life.
No, you've met me. Hold my beer.
I am so average at everything that I can call myself an athlete, but I was just never good at anything to actually do anything with it.
Me.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a trainer now.
Me. Oh my God, yes.
My high school basketball coach looked at me. She's like, you know what? You just need to grow into your arms. And I was like, what does that mean? I'm like, I was so lanky, no muscle on me. I had I had skills. I could dribble, I could shoot. But like, put another girl next to me and I'd fall over just because like I had zero like strength in me.
Oh.
So she was just like, you just need to grow into your limbs. And I was like, that's not a compliment. Okay. That's I'm going to work on that. And then that's when I started lifting weights, was around like 16. So I was like, fuck, I got to grow into these.
Holy shit.
Fucking orangutan
Wait, so
arms.
what do you call these, Slenderman?
Honestly.
Oh my God.
My friends have like ongoing jokes too, where if something's really far away, they're like, hey V, can you reach that for me? Can you grab that? Just like, extendo like Elastigirl.
Fuck you, I
reach
can't.
across the room. We all know I can.
But I won't.
And yeah, so I was on my own for a bit, built up, and now I'm working out of a gym with a former colleague of mine from the commercial setting.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. We worked really well together when we were in the commercial setting. We were both just so motivated to work as many hours as possible. It's hard to find people that match your work ethic, and we really match each other's work ethic. So I really like working alongside of him and the team he's got there. And recently, I also just got hired by Prescript now. So I did my PSL 1, L2. We did L3 together last year.
Yeah.
And now, as of November, October, I'm officially a Prescript instructor now.
Oh my God.
Which is sick. Yeah, it feels so cool. I love teaching. I've always loved teaching. And so it was one of those things where Veronica in 2020, who took PSL 1 for the first time, would
never
be screaming right now if she knew like where 2025 Veronica was
I know.
at.
When I found out that you were becoming a Prescript coach, I got so excited for you. I was so pumped.
It's the coolest thing because I don't know, everything's really lined up. I know I've worked really hard, but everything's really lined up where all the things I love are kind of coming together into one career, and it's been the coolest experience these last 7 years.
Yeah.
It really has. So,
Yeah.
And then now that ever since PSL 3, I started taking on more and more athletes when I started working at a Boombox. That's the current gym I work at. And ever since I took PSL 3, I just saw my eyes opened to the world of like possibilities for where I could take my career. And so now most of my roster now is athletes. I still have a good chunk of Gen Pop though. Train a lot of teams.
Yep.
And it's so fun. Oh, those teenagers are ruthless, but they're hilarious. Like I actually really love it. It's so fun.
I want to get into training because I know that I'm going to speak a little bit on your behalf. You want to eventually work in like more of a collegiate pro setting as a coach, as a strength and conditioning coach.
Love to keep leveling up in whatever way I can.
Yes.
And whatever wherever I can get my hands.
We're speaking
on
it into
more and more
existence. You will.
experience. Yeah.
And then you'll let me come visit you because I'll just be like my little nuisance poor self. I'll be like, hey, now that you're freaking really cool,
Bring some food Rex and we'll be good to go.
I'm gonna come crash your party. I'm gonna get us both fired. Ron's like, I just got this gig. You can't come.
Got here.
You cannot come.
Give me a little bit.
Give me a second. But anyways, so I know that you wanna. That's kind of goal for future. But I wanna go down and break down since we both work with both Gen Pop and athletic populations, and we are both different origins, but like similar kind of roads a little bit in terms of where we decided to go. What do you find are the biggest differences in training Gen Pop versus athletic populations? Mm-hmm. And then where do you think people think there are big differences, but there's really not? Like, where would you say there are misconceptions?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of misconceptions in the actual exercises that you program for clients, and there's not. Like, it's all the same movement patterns. You squat, you hinge, you push, you pull. Like, it's all the same. I think the biggest difference that I use between athletes and Gen Pop is that my athletes are spending like 90% of the time on one leg or 90% of the time with a unilateral movement. Mm-hmm. I always try and get them, depending on the sport. Again, if they're in a barbell sport, you got to use the barbell. for those bilateral movements. But I think I just put my athletes on one leg more often. I make them more unstable, whereas Gen Pop, the goal is to make them more stable. With athletes, I'll try and make them more unstable and then build strength in that way. But the exercises cross over. Some of the exercises I use for my athletes, I use for my like 70-year-old client, just in a modified way, right? But it's the same concept, same idea. Again, maybe just a bit more stable for her. But it's, I think that's the big misconception. People think it's so much more complicated. I think when you train athletes, the problems that you have to solve are more complicated. And when I say problems, I just mean we treat programming like a math equation, right? So we're literally just like putting our X's and O's together. We're figuring out what formula is best for what we're doing. And so I think that's where it's different, is when you're looking at the grand scheme of the program. You also have to account for volume overall with the athlete. You have to account for their sport, how many reps they're putting in on the field, on the ice, whatever their sport is. And that accumulates with the overall workload that they're doing throughout the week. So you have to consider a lot more. I think that's why training an athlete's more complicated. There's more factors to consider.
Yeah.
And again, it's a bit more cerebral and it's a little bit more complicated in that sense. But the actual exercises that you're picking are very straightforward.
Yeah. I always say at the end of the day, we talk so much nuance in our certifications amongst coaches, but it all kind of ends up distilling down to like a lunge, a squat, a push, a pull, a pull up, a dip, a push up, and just variations. The loading mechanics behind the exercise selection, the order, that kind of thing may depend. And also the why, like the why behind why I choose a lunge for this person, why I put a limb on a leg extension, why I put this person on a leg extension. That is where I think you get the meat out of it. And sometimes it can get a little bit boring, in my opinion, because nobody cares or is really asking why. You just know. That's why we love nerding out with the coaches, with fellow coaches. But one of the other biggest differences, you said it great, is I was going to say, I give my Gen Pop people more. Like I can load the fuck out of them when they come in to see me, because they're only coming in 2 to 3 times a week. So I'm going to like hammer their shit.
I want you to be sore until you see me again in 4 days from now.
My athletes, they're the people that I'm like, we're going to do like a glute bridge sprinter, a little one heavy trap bar dead, some pull-ups, and then like some abs, and you're going home. Like you're done. Because I need you to be more ready tomorrow, because tomorrow you have a hard practice, or tomorrow you have a game, or tomorrow, that's where I would say athletes, actually, you're doing less.
Less work in the workout, but I think there's
more pressure in selection.
There's more pressure in selection, because especially like you brought up game day. So if we're game day -3, game day -2, game day +1, where are we in the week? And a lot of my athletes, especially this time of year, they play ice sports. It's hockey, it's ringette. Those schedules are all over the place. It is not like game Friday, practice rest of the week. It's like, no, like I had a client that had 3 games last week. It's like, okay, so how do we work with this and still get you in a place where you're performing well? And at that point, you're kind of just, when it's in season, you're on a return to play protocol every time they come in. And so I think that's where there's also a big difference too. And again, it's not the selection, but it's the structure, and it's the volume, and it's the why, like you said.
And that's where you can get kind of fun, because that's when you start adding in cool drills, and
swinging from the ceiling on bands, doing some stupid shit.
Selfishly, it's just a little bit like you can get a little bit more nuanced, and I think you can. You're not loading up a bunch of plates on a bar and telling them to lift and just standing there and you're like, push another one. Like you're kind of like you're going into drills. You're doing 1 set of something, 2 sets of something, 5 sets of something. You're going for time. You're doing ISOs. You're doing weird I'm banding them up here and I'm loading them up there, and it's just a little bit more fun. Like it's from a more selfish perspective. It's entertaining, I think, for us as coaches, because we get to do the cool shit that we can't fucking do very well. And we get our athletes to do it. We're like, oh, you're living my dream.
It's so cool. And it's funny because sports are chaotic. So that's why you have to make some things in the gym a bit more chaotic, because that's going to help them prepare for their sport. And you see stuff
especially
online.
On return to play, like when they're in season like that.
You got to keep everything consistent and in that sense. And it's so funny because you see stuff online, and people at our gym too, they look over and they're like, what the fuck is she doing now? Like, I'll be testing something out for some athletes. And they're like, frig, don't make us do that, man. And once in a while, I'll throw it in like the group classes, like something funny, just like a weird ISO or something with a band. And they love it. It's fun. It's different. But there is an intention behind it. And I think that's a big thing for coaches too, is you got to try that shit first. Like, there's so much stuff online, and that's why I'm glad we're talking about this. There's so much online
that is horseshit, and
it can get so confusing for coaches that see it, or even athletes. Because I have clients come to me and they'll show me something they saw online. They're like, "Is this good?" And I'm like,
context.
I need so much context for it to be okay. Because everything I do has context. Every band I don't actually swing from bands from the ceiling, but like every band that I'm swinging from is like there's context behind it, and I've actually tried it week over week, and it's creating the adaptation that I want for that particular muscle or that particular joint. And then that's when I implement it into a client's program. It's not like, oh, saw this weird like light up button push online, so I'm going to try that with my clients. It's like, no, try it out first and then make sure it's actually going to do something useful.
Yeah. And sometimes I think the context is like, we're trying to keep them entertained. If you're with a middle school crew, like I could have them hold a split squat ISO. I could also have them hold a split squat ISO and they're bouncing a ball from, to each other, and they're trying to like make it kind of difficult and challenging. Yeah. And I mean, you could talk about this, like the cognitive cerebral benefits and warming up your CNS and all this. And it's like, really, no, I need fucking 12-year-olds to pay attention for long enough that they can do a 45-second ISO on one leg and not be like, bruh, this has no aura, dude. I hate this exercise.
Yeah, 100%. I've got a U12 and a U11 hockey team. So these kids are 10 years old. Yeah. So when I get them to do their dynamic warm-up, they're laterally shuffling and throwing a ball to each other.
Yes.
I don't care about hand-eye. I don't care about the cerebral thing. They're 10 years old and I need them to stay focused.
Yes.
And instead of me making them do this really strict drill and then losing their attention and having to dick around and play a game for 10 minutes to get their attention back, it's like, no, we're just going to mix some stuff in while we're doing the stuff that I need you to do. And it makes it fun for them. Makes it fun for me too, because then it's like, oh, you drop a ball, do some burpees, and then you start chirping them and having a good time with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of it has. It was funny actually. One of the trainers at the gym, what was I was doing like a Nordic curl variation one day on the GHD, and instead of like reaching straight out, I was just folding down from my knee. And she asked me, she was like, "Oh, what's the difference? Like, why were you doing that variation today?" And my answer was straight up. I was like, I'm going to fall over if I try and do it the other way. Like my body doesn't feel good today. I will literally fall over. And she was like, oh, I was expecting a like complex like explanation for that. I was like, no, I will literally just fall over if I do it. So I need this
modifying. To be slightly more isometric.
Yeah. I need to modify this a little bit.
I need to not, lengthen my hamstring anymore.
Yeah. Or it's going to rip. Yeah.
Or I'm going to tear my fucking hamstring.
Exactly.
I've already got my ACL. I can't lose a hammy.
Yeah.
The entire function of my, which leg?
It's funny, I don't even remember anymore. My right knee.
Yeah. Entire function of my right leg.
Yeah.
Gone.
Missing half an ACL. Hey, it's still intact. Surgeon said, just go for it. And he's like, if it's going to tear, it's going to tear. And it's like, sick. So I'll just resume normal activity and
whatever.
Seems like it'll be fine.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Get those hammies strong. It'll be fine.
Hammies jacked. That's been the plan. That's what I've been doing for a year.
Yeah. Which great. With your long legs.
Yeah.
God almighty.
Yeah.
You got to get them real jacked.
Yeah. But I've always been hamstring dominant anyway, because I've got the longest limbs in the world and the shortest torso. So deadlifting's always been a breeze, and trying to squat is what makes me want to throw myself out a window. Yeah.
I feel like I'm very lucky for being as short as I am. I think I definitely would have torn something by now if I hadn't. Now I'm like, knock on wood that I don't. Shit. Jesus, I know. But I feel like I definitely would have torn some shit by now if I had longer limbs, because I need to be I need to be very close to the ground for my own well-being.
To be fair, this is how mediocre of an athlete I am. This is my first major injury. I've had like some minor sprains and whatever over the years.
You're like, I'm so bad at being an athlete, I can't even get hurt right.
No, now I feel like I am an athlete. I'm like, yes, I partially tore my ACL. Yeah. That means I was good enough, and I was so intense. I was cutting hard. It was a co-ed.
Yes, that's how you know that I suck, because you know I'm the most mediocre. I've never sustained a serious injury before.
My God.
Which is actually shocking in jiu-jitsu. I mean, I've had some really bad like neck and like rib stuff going on, but I've never had any kind of I'm still like, knock on wood, I've never had any kind of seriously tears or anything like that. And with jiu-jitsu, and I spar, I'm not like people, like dudes don't like rolling with me sometimes.
My knees have gotten torqued doing jiu-jitsu. Like, it's bad.
And actually worse in the gi.
Too. Yeah.
Worse than the gi.
Because there's more friction. So it just holds everything in.
And it'll get caught up in there.
Yeah.
My knee will start rotating and the pants won't.
You feel it a little bit, but I feel like with jiu-jitsu, you can react accordingly. Whereas, okay, so my least favorite thing in the world is telling people how I hurt my knee because I was doing jiu-jitsu. Like I was working hard at it. I'm just a white belt, but I was working hard at it for like 2 years, did a couple comps. So I was trying to get better. I was going pretty intense. Our gym's mostly male dominant. And so I was rolling with guys all the time.
Yeah, that's every jiu-jitsu gym, guys.
Getting thrown around. Yeah. And I tore my ACL playing a co-ed game of Ultimate Frisbee. So pissed.
Okay, those can get intense though.
They can get intense.
Ultimate Frisbee.
They can.
That's actually the one sport I think I'm pretty good at. I used to play Frisbee with my...
Shockingly good.
Dude.
It's the one sport
it's
that
your
I'm
arms.
shockingly good at. It's my fucking arms.
You're like, by the time I release the Frisbee, it is in the other person's hand.
Oh, man. Our high school team went to like nationals 4 years in a row. That's how good we were.
There is not a high school team of Frisbee.
Oh, you don't have high school Frisbee?
No.
Man, we had a high school.
What's going on in Canada?
We have like pro Frisbee. I got invited out. I got invited out at like 14 to a pro Frisbee like training camp. This is how good I am at Ultimate Frisbee, and that's why I stick.
And
with
afterwards, we go get pancakes together with our maple syrup, and we talk about how nice everybody is.
Canada, it's a great place.
Holy shit, dude! No, I just used to play Frisbee with my dad, and I got pretty fucking good at it. I could do that like reverse.
Yeah, a little flick.
I could go overhand.
Yeah.
Yep. I could do, and then the regular, I don't know the other tricks, like through the leg.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm good at a mean game of Beersby. My roommate and I crush. Have you ever played that?
What is that?
So you put a stick in the ground, you put an empty beer bottle on top. You and your partner, the sticks are like 20 yards apart, and you have to throw the Frisbee. If you knock the bottle off, you get 2 points. And if the other team doesn't catch the Frisbee, you get 1 point. So if you can chuck it really hard.
You have to knock the bottle.
Bottle's 2 points, Frisbee's 1.
Okay.
But the other team, you're supposed to have a drink in your hand. So then you're one free hand. You're trying to catch the bottle and the Frisbee. So if they don't hit the ground, it negates the points.
Frisbee drinking game.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we take it way too seriously.
We need to play this.
My friends won't play with me anymore because
it's like Monopoly for field games.
This is why I started doing jiu-jitsu. They told me to go do something competitive so I would stop yelling during backyard drinking games. They were like, you need to please go do something. Not here. This is for fun. We're trying to have a nice Saturday afternoon and you're ruining it for everyone.
Oh my God. That's amazing. I used to play, whenever I would play kickball, it would be like 3 people in the backyard, my dad and my sister and I.
Yeah.
And I would end up being by myself because my sister if I'm not an athlete, my sister is just negative athlete.
Yeah.
And my dad would be with her, like helping her out. And my dad would just fucking pwn me, dude. And I remember I used to get so fucking pissed. So I was like, why the fuck is she even in your team? And I'm the only one out here. I don't know how I got this. It was just, it was bad. Like I would not talk to my father or my sister the rest of the day. It was so.
Yeah. I've lost friendships over board games, so I feel that.
I couldn't play. I've played Monopoly one time, and I'll never play it again.
Yeah,
because I said I think that this board game like makes people fight, and then she was like, no, don't worry about it, and we played Monopoly. And 2 hours later, I literally was like, I couldn't drive yet. I was like, I'm calling my mom.
I'm leaving. I don't want to play here anymore.
She's picking me up, and we're not talking for a week. Yeah. How dare you steal my fucking apartment complex?
Oh my God,
it was terrible.
I've been there too many times. It's unfortunate,
but. Anywho, back to athletes. So, when it comes to training athletes too, what would you say is the best part and worst part about training athletic populations?
The best part, I just love everything about my job. I love the programming. I love in-person coaching. I love being around people. I love talking to people. So I think with the athletes, the most rewarding part with any client, is seeing them progress and seeing them notice the little differences too and celebrating small wins.
Yeah.
So when they feel a difference on the ice or when they feel a difference on the field and they come and tell me about it, that's definitely the best part. Or when they start asking questions, because then I know that they're bought in, like when they're like, oh, what does this do? Or what are we doing for this? And they're like, oh, cool. And they kind of get into they're excited about the stuff that I'm excited about when it comes to training. I'd say worst part, I think, is I just get I'm very empathetic. And I think when my athletes are having a bad go or if they're having a rough day, whether it's in sport or out of sport, it gets really hard. I find it hard to separate sometimes because I just get so attached to my clients. I really do care about them.
Yeah.
I want the best for them. And so when they're having a tough time, and especially when, I don't know, you feel like you can't always help them. There are certain things, or they come in and you're just kind of like, I don't know how to help you right now, but we're going to work out and we're going to see if you can walk out feeling a little bit better. And in terms of actual like training, I think the worst part is you do feel that pressure when you've got them in the gym, especially if like they got a big game on the line, or like when we were doing L3, those guys' careers are on the line. So when they complain about a sore hamstring or something's going on, it's that mental piece of inhibition where they just start shutting down because they don't want to miss out on a career. And so I think the pressure from that, it makes me better at my job, but it's also definitely like something that you have to sort through as a coach and make sure that you're on top of it, because you got to check your own feelings at the door and make sure that you're there to do your job and that you're your best self for them when they come in. So
yeah, it's interesting because I agree with you on I feel all of the pressure and simultaneously understand that I play such a small role, which is kind of ironic, but it's like in the level of I am very, I don't think I'm not an important role. I think it's still an important, but it's such a small piece of the puzzle. Yeah. And also I feel so much pressure to do well because like I want to be a part of my clients' wins, but also I take responsibility for all of their losses as well. Like 100%. I'm willing to be a part of all of that. I'm also kind of a bitch. Like I'd say my least favorite part is some of these fucking like high school strength coaches that you have to interfere with. Yeah. I'm like, brother, what are we like on where they have to go to workouts with the team? Yeah. And they're doing stupid shit. Yeah. Because you know that like the coach that's a part of the middle school, high school team is just like 20 years behind in terms of what needs to be going on in the strength room. Yeah. And you're like, okay, so especially my football guys, they'll come in and I'm like, so let me guess, you did squat, clean, bench? Yeah. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, let me guess, you maxed out? They're like, yes. And I'm like, okay, you have a game tomorrow. They're like, yes. Yeah. Like, okay. What the fuck? So, insane. I was with Dante, who's shout out Dante, he's Prescript coach. But shout out Dante, great guy. Yo. I was visiting him at his gym end of November, and he had an athlete home because I think it was over American Thanksgiving, like that weekend. Yeah, and he had an athlete home, plays Div 1 hockey in the States. His shoulders were messed. This guy's a goalie for hockey, and he said that they were benching twice a week, heavy. He's like, all we do is bench and deadlift. And hockey players in season, and their bodies are all beaten up. And this guy's worked with Dante before, so he knows what legit athlete training is supposed to look like. I got a softball player like that. Yeah, it's brutal. And it's like, how do you... If you're shortstop and you're in season, you're maxing on bench. Yeah. What the fuck are we doing? Yeah. Yeah. A coach actually asked that. You had a slap tear last season. What is going on? A coach asked that in the Prescript lab. He said, he's like, I train some of these athletes, but their strength coach with their school is doing different stuff. How do I work with that? I was like, you can't go in there and take over. No, you can't. Because if you try and big dick them, they're just going to shut it down. You're not going to be able to build a relationship. You have to build a relationship first and find a way in, and then find a way to work with them. And then at the end of the day, like if they aren't wanting to collaborate, aren't wanting to work together, and you get that vibe, then your goal when the athlete comes to you is just to offset everything that strength coach is doing, unfortunately. I think it's also building a good relationship with the kid and the parents. Yeah. Because then they're going to advocate for you and they're going to trust you. So just continuing to provide them with good work and continuing to do right by them. Yeah. Like I have a lot of my youth kids, they have the opportunity. I mean, they have the opportunity to go train with their team. They have opportunities to go train at, other like group classes. Like we've got D1, like we've got different athletic training places in my town. And they're like, but we like it here. Like we want it. This place is cool. Yeah. Like they get a good workout. They get to be on aux. They play their own music. Yeah. Like, they come in, they get their protein bar, they do whatever they want, you know, and simultaneously they do what the fuck I tell them. Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, I'll be like, all right, guys, you have the option between doing this or this, which I'm like, is on the plan anyways. Yeah. Yeah. but you make it seem like they have a choice. I do that all the time. They feel so autonomous over their training session. Oh yeah. I always have a great time. And I'm like, oh, you want a little more? As I'm already grabbing like the 5 for the 10 and throwing it on there. And they see me like grabbing it. They're like, yeah, I could do a bit more. I'm like, sick. That was already the decision. That's what you're doing. Yes. Yeah. So, and then I want to, because I know you got to go and I got to go, but I want to also talk a little bit about different athletic populations, right? Because we worked with, we work with middle school people. Yeah. We work with like little kids. We worked with high school, collegiate, and then also we were at the combine. Yeah. Training guys who were 2 weeks out from the combine, which mind you, I was stressed for them. Yeah. Yeah. You could feel that energy in the room. It's just fucking, it's rough. Like you empathize with them so much because you don't know what they went through, and simultaneously you know that they went through so much to get to where they are.
Yeah.
For them to potentially not get anything out of it.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot. It's a very high pressure situation. But in terms of programming, training, that kind of thing, did you notice, were there any big differences? I know that the pressure, at least for me, I felt more pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we were coming as students.
Yeah.
And guests
Yeah.
of our House of Athlete.
Yeah.
Which, an incredible facility in Tampa. Mm-hmm. And we were there to represent Prescript. And so we wanted to do a very good job. Yeah. But simultaneously, I felt the pressure because it's like, these are people. Yeah. And also these are people that could be worth millions of dollars. And also these are people that I could fuck up and they could be worth $0.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely pressure. It's a sink or swim environment. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a matter of take your time. Anytime you go in, I got really good advice. And it was anytime you go into that environment where there's already established coaches, these are already established athletes, there's a lot of pressure around it. The advice was look around, spend the first little bit taking in the environment, mm-hmm. assert yourself as soon as you can, but mm-hmm. no sooner. Because if you assert yourself too early, people aren't going to like that. It's going to be like you're stepping on toes. But if you assert yourself too late, it shows that you don't have confidence. Mm-hmm. So it's observe the environment, and the first chance you get to assert yourself, take it. I feel like that's what I did with the athletes is I rolled with the day, did as we were told, and then the second I could provide, I noticed an opportunity to provide more value to somebody, I took it. And I think that's where I started building relationships with these athletes to help. And once they started to trust me, it was easier to go through the rest of the week. And I think the other thing too is I hate using this reference, but it's kind of like, with kids when they bump their head and the parents are like, you're fine.
Yeah.
As soon as you say, oh my God, your head, oh my God,
right.
They start sobbing. And so I think when you're calm, cool, collected.
Yes.
And it can't be calm, I don't give a shit. It has to be like calm, but I still care. Mm-hmm. So anytime one of my guys would complain about something being sore, I would just ask a bunch of follow-up questions because that shows that I'm actually like caring about the situation. I'm not dismissing it. Mm-hmm. And then I would either provide them with a solution that I could provide, or I would send them to one of the clinicians on site. And luckily, like Prescript also had its own clinicians that I could either go to for help or send the athletes directly to.
Yep.
And say, hey, like as soon as it was out of my scope of practice, send them over. And most of the time it wasn't. A lot of the guys had stuff that we could manage in the gym. But I think just staying calm showed them that I knew what I was talking about, and that helped with them. And as soon as they like were able to calm down a little bit too, ankle stuff like stiffness, hamstrings being super mm-hmm. tight, as soon as they were more accepting of what I had to offer, it did take some of the, not necessarily the pressure off, but I was able to just then do my job and be in the zone. And so that was super helpful.
Yeah. I noticed that the programming itself, obviously, kind of, again, like we talked about earlier, really same in terms of like not much difference between populations or between age populations in athletics or in the athletic populations we train. But I did find that there was when my middle school kids or my high school kids would get a little discouraged, it's very easy to work on some positive reinforcement, be able to get them, get a good game going, have a good session where it's just more fun and everything was fine. With these guys, it was more detrimental. Like they were more in their head, when if they had a bad day at the field, it was like I'm preparing to just be like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And don't say a goddamn thing, Abigail. Yeah. And just be like peace for them when they walk in
that room too. Know when to say something and
when to
not
shut the fuck up, dude. Yeah. Because they freak out, and that mental inhibition is so real. And that was the biggest difference is being able to sometimes just let them have their moment where they're like, fuck.
Yeah.
And they're coming in and they're pissed and it has nothing to do with you. So don't take it fucking personal.
Yeah.
Just shut up and train them. And then to know when you can be like, hey man, everybody's 40 times sucked today.
Yeah.
Like, when was bad? You guys are tired. You guys have been worked.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine. You just worked with Killian 2 days ago on fixing your form, your technique. It's going to take a few more tries before you really get to it.
Yeah.
And not to hit them with this, no, you're great, you're going to be fine, but to give them a real, honest, like, when I can tell they need to be told something, to just look at them and be like, they did suck. but everyone sucked, and
Yeah.
it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And
that's
like,
people skills though. That's coaching right there. That's
Yeah.
take the programming out, take the
because you got to
exercise selection
know,
out.
you got to
That's
be able
straight
to
up
feel when
coaching.
it's time to say that and when
Yeah.
it's not. And
Yeah.
my biggest win from that course was that guy, one of those guys who was, it was like a fuck this moment, and
Yeah.
he came in. I just got the vibe. I was like, I need to say something to him. And by the end of the week, he had individually DM'd me.
Nice.
And was just like, hey man, you were like one of the only coaches that really had my back that week. Like, I really appreciate your support. It means the world to me.
Awesome.
You know, but you have to, I think you have to shut up long enough to observe what to do.
Yeah.
And to make a decision. And then you also have to be able to take a little bit of a risk.
Yeah.
Because there are things that, like, it also could have gone the other way. Like, I could have read that wrong, and I could have said something,
and it could have set him off on a spiral for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And it would have been a shit training week. Yeah.
Because there are guys that they would come in, and I'm just like, I ain't saying it. Go.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
like, I'm gonna let the big dogs like Jordan and Killian talk to them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Yo talk to them.
Yeah.
Not my job. Like, not my circus, not my monkeys.
100%.
Not my time.
100%. And I think the tough part that I found too, I'm sure you can relate to, but I've never strapped on pads and played tackle football, let alone played at a level where I could never mind make a career out of it, but just I've never even played sports at a high enough level for it to provide me with like a life opportunity. I've played sports and it's like provided me with other sports opportunities, but I never played a sport at a high enough level where it like provided me comfort in livelihood, a career, or even just some kind of opportunity, like to go to college for free. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like something like, so I find it hard to relate in that sense. So I have to pull in, I have to feel what they're feeling using other areas of my life without explaining that to them. Cause they don't need to know, like, I don't need to start relating myself to them because I can't.
Yes.
I can't. And it's just going to piss them off.
Yes.
But like, I do know what it's like to do a job where if my body is hurt, I'm fucked. I do know what it's like to work really fucking hard for something and then to have like an opportunity fall through. So I can relate to those emotions. And I think that when you pull those in, it can be helpful then when you go and have that conversation with them. But again,
Or when you don't.
Exactly. And then that's what just gives you more perspective on, okay, when are those moments where you say something and when are those moments where you shut up? Like if I had a session like that, how would I want somebody to approach it at the end of the day? And different people are going to want different things. And so that's a testament, like you getting a DM at the end of the week, that's a testament to you as a coach. Like, and who you are as a person. Because there are so many coaches that could come in and do exactly what we're doing. The difference is the people skills of it.
Yeah.
Like there's some shit coaches out there, but there's a lot of really fucking good trainers out there. A lot of them. And they can probably put together like arguably even probably better programs than we could and and lift more weight than we can and run faster than we can.
But terrible people skills.
But terrible people skills. And it's the people business first. So if you don't care about the people and you don't know how to read people, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, and I say that also with the side note and the caveat of I have also fucked up in terms of like not speaking at the right time, speaking more than I should have.
Yeah.
I just had Drew on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and he talked literally in the podcast about how I did not start with any people skills. Like I had zero people skills.
Yeah.
So it's something that you can learn, and I had to work, and I continue to work very, very hard on my ability to listen, to observe, to watch, to shut up, to speak, to not, like the rhythm of coaching and how personal you want the personal training to be is there is an art behind it and it is tough. It is not easy. And so that's why I loved also Dante's presentation last year so much on communication and the importance of communication and the art of communication as well. Like there's a science to it and there's an art to it. And it's tough because you have to be able to create authority in the training space and also understand that you're there to serve those people. And you want to relationship build, but you do not want to get too close. Yeah. And you want to maintain professionalism, but you also want them to have fun. Yeah. And so it's really hard because
there's a lot of lines. There's a lot of lines that you're teetering on. And
like I fucked up last year. Oh, I didn't fuck up, but I could have fucked up really bad. And I even had Junta tell me afterwards, he was like, you pulled that off really well, but like if it did not go well, you would have been so fucked, Abigail. Yeah. When I had a pull-up competition with Catan.
Oh, okay.
You know, and it was great. It was hilarious. It was so fun. Like the coaches bonded, the teammates bonded. Like everybody at the end of it was just like, oh my God, it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was a funny moment.
Catan and I, like the rest of the week were buds.
Yeah.
Like, it was great.
Yeah.
But if Catan had strained a lat doing the pull-ups.
Yeah.
If we had not done testing earlier in that week and he had the 40 test the next day
and
back was bad,
fried, yeah,
bro,
yeah,
that would have been really, really bad.
Yeah.
Like, so that was a risk where it was like, hindsight 2020, probably not a good fucking idea.
Yeah, this was an opportunity to bond, but yeah, what's the risk reward on like their performance afterwards when you do stuff like that? Crazy. I didn't even think about that because it seems so light and fun, and because nothing bad did happen. But had it
right? Because for me, okay, whatever. My lats are sore tomorrow. I don't care. What's it to me?
Yeah, you stand there and yell at them all day to train.
But yeah, Catan,
but for him,
his lats are sore tomorrow, and he's got a 40 test.
Yeah,
bro.
Yeah.
He gets a shit time.
Yeah, his arm swing is going to be bad, which is going to just create a whole downward effect of like poor sprint mechanics. Yeah.
So that's where I look back and I continue to, even from a thing from a year ago, I still look back and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
worked out, but would I have done it again? Would I be more cautious approaching those things in the future?
Yeah, 100%. But that's the biggest thing too. That's what experience gives you. I mean, if you're not learning from it, that's on you. Then you're just not, you're a shit coach. You're not doing your job.
Right.
Or just at anything if you're not learning from your mistakes and you're just repeating them. But that's what the experience is for. I have 7 years of experience. It also means I have 7 years of mistakes that I've made.
Yeah.
And also 7 years of like some awesome wins. So but you learn more from the mistakes. Like you take the wins to know that you're on the right track for what you're doing, and you use the losses as a way to modify and revamp and do your job better. And so, yeah, I think you need those moments to know how to be a better coach. And it's unfortunate too. And I think that's the hardest part about being a coach is when you do have those losses, it's like, fuck, that's the person that had to be on the like losing side of my bad decision. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that feels the shittiest. Mm-hmm. But then you just have to have that mindset where it's like, okay, we're going to move forward. We're going to learn from it. We're not going to do that again. And again, if you have enough rapport and enough of a relationship with that client where they still trust you, then it's fine. But you know, I don't think I've ever had a moment where I've broken trust with a client, but you know, I think that would be like the worst thing in this field for sure. Would just like, if you actually broke someone's trust, that would like break my heart. I would not, You'd have to figure out a way around it and just learn from it. But yeah, I think that's probably the worst thing you can do as a coach is like for them to not trust you anymore and not trust your decisions.
Yeah. Reputation is very valuable in this industry. And honestly, you have an incredible one. And I think that you're insanely good at what you do and you're only getting better at what you do. And I absolutely love that I'm connected with you as a coach, just because I think that being able to bounce ideas and concepts and learning experiences from you, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And so I know she's actually, I'm like holding her up. She's got to go fucking meet up with people.
Great.
But
we're doing great.
She's got to go meet up with other people and bond and be a boss lady. But thank you so much for coming on.
Awesome.
I appreciate it so much. Like being able to just talk. We meet every week, you guys, and Veronica and I will like shoot the shit and we'll keep each other accountable. And it's one of my favorite parts of my week, honestly.
Yeah, our book club, our 30-minute book club, where we just make sure that we're getting our shit done, essentially. And then maybe once in a while go on a little rant. Or this week I lost my voice, so it was just me squeaking into the phone at you.
Hi, bye.
It's a very short call this week.
Can't talk.
No, it's been awesome. I love what you're doing here. I think the podcast is super cool. And my first ever podcast, so I feel pretty cool.
Are you serious?
Hell yeah, my first ever podcast.
Yeah.
I hope they heard that high five.
Yes.
No, this has been awesome. Hopefully people enjoy our little bit of a rant. But no, it's been cool. I'm really excited for the future. The last year and a half has been a whirlwind full of opportunities and doors opening, and I'm super happy with where I'm at career-wise, and I just see it getting better, and I'm really cool to see where things go. I'm excited to see where things go with you too, because I know what you've got coming down the pipe in the future and what your plans are.
We're going to be taking over the world.
I can't wait to watch you execute. It's going to be sick.
Yes. Okay, so where can people find you? All your socials, any kind of coaching stuff, just shout yourself out.
Yeah, you can, if you want my Instagram, it is at Veronica Zuccala, VERONICA ZUCCALA, ZUCCALA, as they say in the States.
Zed.
Yeah, my Instagram's got me. Just it's a lot of coaching stuff. I can get somebody to film me with my clients sometimes, which is pretty entertaining. And some of it's really stupid, some of it's funny, some of it's informational. So, if you will, some of it's my dog.
And if you're in Ottawa, where do you train?
If you're in Ottawa, I train out of Boombox Fitness. Come by anytime. Boombox Fitness. It's in Richmond. Great place. They got group classes, but anytime you're in town, just hit me up for a workout. We always love having new people come in, and it's always a good time to connect and get to know other coaches. So.
Yeah, and I'll put everything in the description as well. So if you couldn't keep up with the spelling, I got you anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, people. I'll see you next week. Veronica, you're awesome.
Peace.
Bye.